Hi guys, we're here with Nic Offer from...
Chick.
So what's going on, Nic? Tell us what's happening with the band lately.
We're in the middle of a world tour, kind of, and we just put out a record a couple of weeks ago called Shake the Shutter, and that's always kind of like a celebratory time, when you kind of you kind of like focus and you do the record and you and then once it's done, then you kind of actually, there's a famous quote from a famous Canadian, Leonard Cohen, where he says like when you finish a record, like you're ready to party, and your friends, like after like the fourth day after you finish it, your friends are like, yeah, well, you finished it 4 days ago, but you still want to go, and I can definitely identify with that. It's just such an achievement to finish one that.
And so you guys you love to dance live. I mean, I've seen you guys play live and stuff like that. What's an album that will always make you dance, no matter...
Let's see. I mean, I guess I would say either, I think the three probably most like formative albums for the band were maybe like the James Brown box set, or maybe 20 Greatest Hits. Both of those kind of floated around at the same time. And Chic, Say Chic. It's like my first like disco album, and then the first Daft Punk album, and and either of those, any of those three will pretty much do it every time,
And have you ever had a chance to work with anybody like Niall from? Because you guys would be a good fit.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm always kind of weird about working with old people. We'd rather work with like young people. I mean, honestly, that was kind of one of the really amazing things that Daft Punk and Niall made a good record together, because it really just seemed like it was gonna be one of those like Hollywood blowjob things, and it was like it was amazing that it was good, But whenever we kind of like, oh, we could work with this old guy, so I was like, yeah, but I honestly I'd rather work with like some new 21-year-old kid who just made something cool.
That makes sense. So speaking of young performers or musicians, what are you listening today? Any young bands that you can school us on?
Let's see, young. I'm trying to think who's young. I mean, if you want to go young, everyone's making fun of that kid, Extentation. I think that kid's good. I mean, I kind of think that like the new thing that's happening in rap is it reminds me of reminds me of the rock I started listening to when I was 10, which is actually another famous Canadian band like Loverboy.
Yes.
It's kind of poser, but it's fucking kind of catchy and good. And if you're 10 years old, you're like, this is good. So I don't know. Like I like some of those kids. I'm trying to think who's young. Like
it can be a young artist, like a newer artist. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
young,
I'm trying to think. Let me think. Because we listen to a lot of new music. That's like mostly what we listen to. But I'm trying to figure out. Like I was listening to the new Chief Keef record, but he's like got to be 22. So now he's old, because he came out and he was young. Like, yeah. See.
22 is young for me.
No, it's young for me too. But I'm trying to think of new kids. I mean, I think the new Perfume Genius record is a masterpiece. I think that will, stand forever. I'm trying to think who else young. Last year, I really liked Parquet Courts. They're young. They're probably about 30.
They're young.
They've only made like 3 records, so they're young. I mean, I think like probably Tame Impala is probably like the band that's like, they're kind of like the Radiohead of right now, like whenever they make a record, everyone's like, what does it sound like, and I think those are it's always exciting to have those bands. And I like Drake. I mean, Drake's younger than me. I mean,
a lot of Canadian. Thank you. A lot of Canadian. Like, I'm not a huge patriot, but I mean, that's like the 4th Canadian artist. The
Loverboy, Leonard Cohen, Drake.
Yeah.
Those. I mean, come on, that's all the greats.
So is there an album that really inspired you to start wanting to sing and play music? Like when you first heard it, you really gravitated towards it?
I guess the first tape that I ever had was a tape that a friend made for me, which was the Bee Gees' Greatest Hits, and at the time I wanted him to tape me Kiss, but my mom wouldn't let him tape that for me because she thought that was too whatever. And I mean, I think the fact that I ended up playing the kind of music that I did is probably because I had that Bee Gees tape instead of the Kiss tape. I mean, not only are they're much better pop songwriters than Kiss were, but they made disco, and it just kind of always continued to resonate with me. So I mean, I think that was probably a pretty important one. I mean, because I decided when I was 7 that I wanted to be a rock star. And
So what's the first? You remember the first song you learned? With the first band you were in, what was the first song you?
First song I ever jammed on was "Sunday Bloody Sunday" by U2. I can still remember. It was like. The garage was open, and I remember they were having an open house across the street trying to sell the house, and we were like, these shitty
there goes
kids.
the neighborhood.
Yeah, we're just like, so I always think that's interesting too, because, the genre of music that I kind of came up when was kind of like the 80s revival music, and I thought, it wasn't that we were ever trying to revive the 80s, but I think that it's interesting that, Kurt Cobain and the grunge generation, they were probably like first jamming on Smoke on the Water or something. That was probably like when you first, the first
Sure.
guitar riff you learned. But, I was learning The Cure and, the Smiths and, U2. So that's like, I think 80s is kind of in my blood that way.
What album's meant to be in someone's collection? Like if I was starting a collection tomorrow, I said, Nick, what record? I'm going to buy one record. I'm starting a collection. Yeah, from the 80s, from wherever, but it's like the first piece of vinyl.
Well, I mean, if we're saying anything, I buy, when our old sax player, when his daughter was born, we went and bought him like 8 CDs, and they were like the Beatles. I think we bought him Revolver or Abbey Road, one of those. Missy Elliott, Super Duper Fly, Outkast. I think we bought her Stankonia, Aretha Franklin, I Never Loved a Man, Tom Zay, The Best Of.
That's pretty good memory.
Did we buy her a Sonic Youth? I think we figured that he had all the Sonic Youth stuff, so she was really covered in that respect. But so that was how we started a child out with a record collection. I stand by those CDs today.
And let's do the last one. What's the first album that you remember buying?
First, I said I had that Bee Gees tape, but that was given to me, so it technically was not purchased with my own allowance. The first tape I ever bought was at a garage sale, and it was Pat Benatar, Crimes of Passion.
Nice.
Which was kind of like the female kind of right with that lover boy Foreigner, that kind of rock or whatever. But so I really liked that kind of stuff.
That was like the Hit Me With Your Best Shot.
It's the one with Hit Me With Your Best Shot, and her cover of Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights. It was years before I figured out that was someone else's song. And I remember it was a very confusing record to us because I had the song Hell Is for Children, and we were just like, well, man, Pat's so cool, but what's this? What's with this Hell Is for Children? We didn't get that it was about child abuse. It was, we were.
Well, you're young.
10 or whatever. We were like, 9, 10. It was like, what? Hell Is for Children.
So thank you so much for doing the interview. Do you have any final words of wisdom for the World Wide Web's thoughts?
I think that I think you should always be trying to listen to something new. I'm obsessed with finding that next record that I'll fall in love with, and I sometimes don't like to talk too much about like the records of the past. Some of my favorite records from high school I haven't listened to since high school, and I just need to look at the titles and I can hear them in my head. I prefer to be listening to something